Gratitude is one of the most powerful ways to take any negative experience, any trauma, and turn it into growth, or what psychologists would call post-traumatic growth. So basically what you do is you look at an event, you look at any hard experience, and rather than just avoiding it, you don't want to avoid it. Psychologists say you either have approach motivation or an avoid motivation. If you have an avoid motivation, then what you're doing is you're avoiding thinking about it, avoiding worrying about it. And then that's going to hit you. You're going to get triggered and it's going to knock you off your socks. Actually, they call that invasive rumination, where you're just going about your day and then all of a sudden, boom, you get hit by thoughts or feelings about some negative experience from your past and you can't get rid of it. And if you don't turn that invasive rumination, which means it's something that hit you, if you don't turn that into what they call deliberate rumination, where you actually sit and focus on the trauma, focus on what it means, and then ultimately what you want to do is you want to twist it. You want to turn it's trauma because you have dysfunctional beliefs about it. You've got negative beliefs about it. You've got beliefs that are ultimately not helpful. That's why it's trauma. It's because how you framed it. You framed it in a meaningful way that means it's stopping you. Trauma means you have a dysfunctional belief about something in your past. I know that may sound rough because we do go through hard things and we go through things that may be fair or unfair. Trauma isn't about fairness or unfairness. It's about framing. It's about the meaning you gave to your experience. And so basically, put simply, this is what the research shows. If you want to turn a negative experience into post-traumatic growth, and post-traumatic growth means you have a clear sense of meaning, purpose, strength. Basically, you view the past in a purposeful manner. And if you add gratitude to that, you're actually grateful it happened because it's given you a greater sense of meaning and purpose. So you look at the past from a purposeful perspective. You can look at a negative event and you can say, that event had purpose in my life. I can use that experience to either help other people or to do things I couldn't have done before. I love the quote from Rahm Emanuel. He said, "Never let a serious crisis go to waste. It's an opportunity to do things you could never have done before." So crises, challenges will happen all the time. But if you look at it with purpose, if you're grateful for it, then you can use it to be better in the future. One of my good friends, Richie Norton, he's been through an insane amount of tragedy in his life. They've had one of their children die. His wife had a stroke. One of his kids got hit by a car. They lost their 3 foster kids. Every time Richie goes through something painful, he asks himself 2 questions. How can I use this to be better, not bitter? So how can I use this to be better, not bitter? If you're still bitter, then you're not dealing with it. You've still got dysfunctional beliefs about it. You're still framing it in a negative. You're still the victim. And so how can I use this to be better? And then how can I use this to help other people? Those are the 2 questions that Richie asks himself. So here's what you want to do. And there's a lot of research. I've got links down below to articles, but you're going to have invasive rumination, which means you're going to think about the trauma. It's going to hit you. But what you want to turn that into is you want to turn that into deliberate rumination. You want to sit, focus on, and think about the event. You want to think about it with your journal. You want to write about it. There's a lot of research that shows that writing about traumatic events just for a period of time actually enhances your health. Writing about your goals does the same thing, by the way. Writing about your traumas and writing about your health over time improves your physical health dramatically over time. So you want to sit and write about the event and write about what it means to you. Write about what you can do because of it now. Write about how your life can be better. I love the quote, "Life happens for you, not to you." If you ask yourself the question and you want to be proactive, how can I use this to be better rather than bitter? How can I use this to do things differently than I could not do before? What is the value or meaning or purpose of this? Sitting there and thinking about it and ultimately creating a positive meaning. Gratitude really helps. Down below, there's a research article that shows deliberate rumination means you're deliberately focusing on the event, what it means, how it shapes your life, how you're going to be different as a result, how you can be better as a result. And then gratitude means that you're actually injecting gratitude into it. You're thankful for it. You're looking for resources you can use. You're looking for how that event has strengthened you, or how it could make you better, or how you can do things differently than you could before, or how you now know things that your former self didn't know. When you go through hard experiences, it certainly hurts. But if you use it to create post-traumatic growth, meaning you actually get value out of the experience and you can be better because of it, you've got more of a sense of meaning and purpose in your life. You've clarified your values. A lot of times you going through those experiences can be one of the best things that could happen to you. Even something as small as losing your job. I know that might not seem like a trauma, but it could be a trauma in the short term if it negatively impacts you. But if you frame it in a positive way, you can use that to ultimately be a catalyst to do things you never thought you'd do before. Or sometimes really negative experiences happen that really change how you see the world. Richie Norton being one. when his child died, he became very urgent about life. He realized he was wasting his time on a lot of things. And so he started living his life at a lot higher level because he felt so much pain. Often you go through a lot of pain, and that can translate into purpose. It can translate into meaning. It can translate into calling. Only though if you use it to be better, not bitter, only if you use it and look at the value of your experiences, and only if you choose to be grateful for what you had rather than bitter. Gratitude is one of the most powerful things you can do. If you write about the hardest things in your life, and if you choose to be grateful for those experiences, you say, this happened for me, not to me. I'm going to be better, not bitter. And I can use this now to give myself greater resources to pursue a better, more meaningful life than my former self had. The person you were before you had that traumatic experience didn't have the knowledge or the capability or the meaning in their life that you now have. So you are much further along than your former self was if you choose to focus on it, learn about it, proactively choose the meaning of it. One of the things that Richie told me is you shouldn't just look for the meaning. If you're looking for the meaning, that's going to lead you down a really negative spiral. Just as an example, if you have something traumatic that happens, you have a child that passes away. And by the way, trigger alerts big time. I know that a lot of people have been through a lot of hard experiences. I've been through a lot of experiences. But Richie said, I had to stop looking for the meaning, because if he was looking for a meaning, that ultimately led him to comparison, social comparison, where he was comparing his situation to others, and maybe other people, their child didn't die or something like that. So Richie, instead of looking for a meaning, he chose his own meaning. He focused on the experience. He chose the meaning of it. He chose who he would be as a result of that, and he chose to be grateful. He chose to be a better person as a result. He chose to have a better marriage as a result. He chose to have greater meaning in his life. He chose to become a better person as a result. He has an amazing life. Him and his wife live an absolutely amazing life. They live life on their own terms. They would fit what psychologists call self-determination theory. They choose where they live, where they work, how they spend their time, but they really clarified those values and their commitment to those values because of some of the tragedies they've been through. So they are a lot better, not bitter. They're also grateful, they're humble, and they just live better lives, and they're insanely grateful. So gratitude is one of the most powerful ways to transform your trauma. You can actually know that you've overcome or healed a trauma because you're grateful for what happened, and you've turned it into growth. You've turned it into more resources that you can use to help yourself and other people. You've turned it into enhanced meaning in life, purpose, resilience, strength. And you do that by, once you get hit by invasive rumination, means once you get hit by a thought or a feeling about it, rather than avoiding it and not dealing with it, you go into approach mode, approach orientation. You proactively, deliberately ruminate on it. You actually write about it in your journal. You think about it, you talk about it with other people. There's a great quote from Peter Levine. He said, trauma isn't what happens to you, it's what you hold on the inside in the absence of an empathetic witness. Sometimes you need to be your own empathetic witness. Sometimes your journal can be your empathetic witness. It can be where you write about what you feel. You can write about how it felt, but also then you can proactively choose the meaning, as Richie does. You can choose to make it mean whatever you want it to mean. You can choose to frame it as a positive. You can choose to be grateful for everything involved. You can choose to turn it into what Dan would call a gain rather than being in the gap. If you choose to be grateful for it and choose to frame the meaning, then you own your past. If you don't, then your past owns you. And you get to choose the meaning of your past. You get to choose the framing of your past. Your past is a story, but whatever story you tell, that's what shapes your identity. And that's ultimately what happens with trauma, is if it's unresolved, then you've now got a crippled identity because of it. You're crippled because of something that happened in your past. Whereas if you own your past, if you own the story, if you frame the meaning yourself, then you can be empowered because of it. It's all a meaning, it's all a story. Your past is a fiction. It's what you decide to give meaning to. There's a great quote on this by George Orwell, which he wrote about in 1984. He says, whoever owns the past owns the future, but whoever owns the present owns the past. And this is one of the coolest findings in psychology, is that whatever view you have in the present, that's what shapes how you view your past. So if you're grateful in the present, if you're proactive in the present, if you take ownership over your meanings, then you can choose how you frame the past. And if you choose to frame your past with gratitude, with meaning, and with proactivity, then you can have post-traumatic growth, which means you can take ownership of your own future. If you don't, then you're going to get hit by that invasive rumination. Means if you don't deal with it, then it's going to create post-traumatic stress, where you're not dealing with it and you just are trying to get through life, trying to avoid it, and every once in a while it just triggers you and it destroys you because you're not dealing with it. Write about it, create the meaning for yourself, figure out how you can use this as resources to become better. Use it as purpose. and meaning in your life and choose to be grateful for it. Frame it as gratitude. You can frame anything as a gratitude. Gratitude is the mother of all virtues. Gratitude will change your life. Gratitude can transform your traumas. Gratitude can make a bad day into a good day. Gratitude can make a tragedy into a triumph. Gratitude is the most powerful force. They say that gratitude is the mother of all virtues because gratitude is the gateway to all virtues. If you want to be more courageous, you start by being more grateful. If you want to be more confident, start by being more grateful. If you want to be more humble, start by being more grateful. Gratitude is the path to transforming everything. I'm Dr. Benjamin Hardy. On this page, you can get more videos about how to transform your trauma, how to become your desired future self. Please like and subscribe. Also down below is a link to my website where you can get my free peak state checklist. On that peak state checklist, you will learn how to get into a peak state in the mornings. Over 800,000 people have downloaded that. Have an amazing day.